Sometimes the most profound history isn't tucked away behind glass in a museum. Sometimes it's literally buried right under our feet, just waiting for decades to be rediscovered. And today, we're going to dig into one of those incredible discoveries, a story that starts in the mud and ends with a really powerful personal connection to the past.
My heart stopped when I saw this. That's what the person who unearthed all these artifacts said. And that one line just perfectly captures the shock, right? That sudden weight of history when you find it, not in some old book, but in your own two hands. This really sets the stage for a discovery that is so much more than just old military gear. So, where did all this stuff even come from? Well, our journey starts at a massive World War II dump hole. After all the fighting was over, this was a place where the history of German soldiers, all their equipment, their personal belongings, their stories was literally just thrown away and buried. What you're looking at here is the start of a massive project. Bags and bags just filled with decaying, mud-caked artifacts. And the tough part is, not everything can be saved. Some of this stuff is literally just falling apart. The whole challenge becomes this kind of historical triage. You have to sort through all the debris to find those few special items that can still tell a story. And it's deep inside this pile of history that we find the most intimate connections to the past. It's not in the big pieces of equipment, but in the smallest, most personal effects. I mean, these aren't just tools of war. They're the everyday objects of a human life. Just imagine for a second pulling this out of the dirt, a wallet, something so incredibly personal, a container for someone's identity, and it's been sealed shut by the earth for over 70 years. The anticipation is it's immense. What could possibly have survived inside? And then this. It was opened so carefully and the wallet revealed not money or papers, but a small religious icon. The immediate reaction from the person who found it was just, wow, I didn't expect this. And what a stunning, unexpected glimpse of faith, carried right into the middle of all that chaos, a deeply human moment, totally frozen in time. And these other items, they really show the simple texture of a soldier's daily life. A pencil, maybe for writing a letter home that never got sent. A spoon, but look, it's specifically bent to fit perfectly inside his helmet, a little personal modification. Then you have a cigarette case and a tiny shaving mirror. Every single object tells a small story of routine, of a fragile attempt to find some normalcy in all that chaos. But the real centerpiece of this whole discovery, the star of the show, it wasn't found scattered in the dirt. No, it was found packed neatly inside the most iconic piece of equipment of all, a single German helmet. So they recovered 46 helmets from this one site. 46, and most of them were empty. But this one was different. It was packed with personal effects, almost as if the soldier had stored them in there himself just moments before. It wasn't just a helmet anymore. It had literally become a time capsule, sealed by the earth itself. Pulled ever so carefully from the compacted dirt inside were these items: the wooden remains of a pencil, a German uniform button, and, remarkably, a complete Goffu. That's the all-in-one fork and spoon tool issued to German soldiers. And finding one of these completely intact is just incredible, because most others discovered from this time are melted or broken. So, okay, once you have these relics, and they're caked in decades of mud and rust, how in the world do you save them? Finding them is one thing. Preserving them is a whole other ballgame. This is really where history meets chemistry. The whole process is incredibly meticulous. First, the artifacts are soaked in an oxalic acid bath. It's a chemical process that gently eats away all the rust without destroying the good metal underneath. Next, they have to be completely neutralized with clean water to stop the acid from doing any more work. And finally, they're coated in boiled linseed oil, which seals the metal off from the air and stops it from ever rusting again. And the transformation is, well, it's just stunning. On the left, you can see the helmet just as it was pulled from the ground, a rusted, almost shapeless relic. And on the right, after that whole preservation process, its iconic shape is revealed. Its history is now stable, ready to be told for generations to come. But as we get to the end of this discovery, the tone really starts to shift, because among all the helmets and personal items, there was another, far more somber collection of artifacts. Remember this number, 46. That's how many helmets were pulled from this single dump hole. And that scale is so important because it really starts to hint at the sheer human costs that these relics represent. And here's the grim reality of it all. These weren't just helmets that were lost or discarded. No, many of them show clear evidence of battle damage, shrapnel holes, and in some cases, clean bullet holes passing straight through. These are artifacts from men who actually fell in combat. And that leads us to the most poignant discovery of all, the dog tags. But hold on, these are not what you might think. They are GRS, or Graves Registration Service tags. They weren't actually worn by the German soldiers. They were created by American soldiers, right there in the field, to identify and mark the temporary graves of the enemy they had just buried. So picture this. A US soldier would find a fallen German, copy the information from his original ID tag onto one of these blank GRS tags, and then place it on the grave marker. It was basically a battlefield administration system, and as you can imagine, under those conditions, mistakes happened. And here is a perfect example. The original German tag likely read Waffen SS, but maybe the tag was dirty or damaged. The American soldier transcribing it saw those SS runes and just mistook them for the number 77. The result is a tag that reads Waffen 77, a unique and very human error preserved forever in metal. And this brings us to the most powerful and sobering conclusion. These aren't just rare collectibles. They're battlefield records of death. As the person who found them put it, every single dog tag is a killed German soldier. Every single one. Each one of those pieces of stamped metal represents a person, a family, a life that was lost. And that really leaves us with this final thought. When we unearth history like this, it's so easy to just focus on the objects, the helmets, the buckles, the rust. But the real challenge, the real responsibility, is to look past the object and preserve the fragile, often tragic, human story that it represents. So what is our duty to these stories, now that they've been brought back into the light after so long in the dark?